Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for being with us for the 2023 CES Awards webinar brought to you by the Dell Client community and the Dell Technologies Unified Workspace community. We are super excited and super happy that you are with us today. We've got some great speakers lined up. But before we get into that, one quick announcement. As you may have heard last year or seen from some email communications, we will be bringing the Dell Client community and the Unified Workspace community together into one. This new community will be called Dell Technologies User Community. This community will be your one-stop shop for everything Dell. We will be expanding the topics we cover, and we really look forward to your continued active ability to be part of this community. It will remain free, so no worries there. We will do our best to move all of your logins, every bit of information over, so that way it is cohesive for you as a user. Keep an eye out for future communications via email. We will keep you updated throughout the entire process. As usual, this is a Zoom webinar, so please note that the webinar is being recorded. With that in mind, please stay on mute while the speakers are presenting, and if you're comfortable, have your camera on. We would love to see you. Last but not least, I'm going to introduce our speakers. First up, we will have Katie Green. She is part of the Global Sustainability Consultant Group at Dell Technologies, so you're going to hear some great stuff about Project Luna from her. Then we've got Stephen Taylor, Ask Him Anything Alienware. He's quite a pro. I was asking him questions like I mentioned before this, so that will be really exciting. And then last but definitely not least, we'll have Dana, who oversees kind of the commercial client product marketing program at Dell. Dana knows everything. So if you've got any questions under the sun, ask any of our experts. They're here for you. And without further ado, Katie, I'm gonna hand it off to you.
Sorry, guys, just finding the mute button. Good times. Hi, I'm Katie Green. As mentioned, I am our sustainability lead for our client product group. So this encompasses a lot of our sustainability goals, which are on the next slide. So I'll hold off on that. But we want to talk to you today mostly about Concept Luna. It's an innovation that we took on to prove that we were capable of completely rethinking our product design to be more sustainable, more repairable with lower carbon emissions. We've been leading in sustainability for decades. So this is, the right alignment of commitments, actions, and business practices to make sure we're delivering innovative products and solutions that help you achieve your sustainability goals. As we talk to more and more customers, each company is setting different goals, and they're starting to look to IT to understand how IT can reduce the impact on the overarching corporate goals. So we've heard a lot of different directions in this pursuit. So open, like Jack said, to any of your questions, and even afterwards, if you have some insights that you'd like to share back with me, definitely open to hearing how you're tackling these problems and how Dell can help you. So as we get into our goals, we are making sustainability an integral part of everything we do. We feel a really deep responsibility to make sure that we're innovating in these areas and using everything that we have at our disposal to make the technology work for the future world that we need to see. Business as usual won't really deliver the future state that we need. So we want to help you meet your goals as we're rethinking and redesigning our offerings to maximize recyclability and reducing carbon footprint. Some of those goals you'll see on the left-hand side are focused on climate action. So we have stated a goal that is SBTI approved, that's the Science-Based Targets Initiative, to achieve a net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So this is across scopes 1, 2, and 3. And if you're not familiar with how the scopes work, scopes 1 and 2 are more of your internal emissions as a company. And then scope 3, for us, because we produce a lot of physical products, scope 3 includes the supply chain of those products, the logistics and transportation of those products, and then finally the energy use of those products. So even though you as a customer is the one that is plugging the PC into the wall, we do take the responsibility for the energy of those products that we produce that you plug into the wall. So a lot of that is encompassed in some of our energy efficiency directions, but we also have the category 1 within the scope 3, our supply chain emissions. So ensuring that we're choosing suppliers who have renewable energy targets within their own companies. So as they reduce their emissions by choosing renewable energy sources, we inherently absorb those emissions reductions through the manufacturing stage. So a lot of things roll up to emissions. It can encompass all of the different aspects of the product, but we also want to make sure that we're looking at the circular economy and driving our product designs to ensure that we are putting things back into the supply chain and into the right streams. So we are focused here in 3 different areas. One is that for every product we sell, we will reuse or recycle an equivalent. We consider this our take back goal, ensuring that customers are aware of our take back offers like asset recovery services, that we are increasing those services, like incentivizing you to return your products by offering you real value for those products, and then being able to apply that value back to your invoices for future products. So really trying to increase the amount of offerings that we have that encourage you to return your products back to Dell so that we can enable the ability to refurbish, reuse, or if certain components are at end of life, recycle them correctly.
Hey, Katie, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, but are you supposed to be screen sharing?
Fantastic.
Sorry.
I am screen sharing to myself. How's that?
Much better. Thank you.
Yes.
Great. Thank you for stopping me. All right. Well, you missed my very pretty picture of Concept Luna, but we'll get to that in a minute. So just a quick recap. On the left-hand side, the carbon emissions goal. On the right-hand side, the circular economy goals. So for every product we buy that we sell, we will repurpose or recycle an equivalent. The next 2 goals under that 100% of our packaging will be made from recycled and renewable materials. Our packaging is also recyclable when you're done with it. And then lastly, that 50% or half of our content in the products will be from recycled or renewable materials. So we made a lot of progress there on increasing recycled plastics, expanding that into metals, and then exploring that even further. In the scope of circularity, making sure my slides are changing. In the scope of circularity, we want to make sure that everything is regenerative, predicted on eliminating waste at each of the stages. So it's, I mentioned the take back. You see the asset recovery there in the bottom, making sure that we take these back. We don't just immediately go to the top of the circle to recycle and reuse. We want to ensure that we're refurbishing wherever possible, redistributing those back into the the environment, whether that's to a different customer or to the same customer, enabling you to rely on us to help you refurbish a product and then redeploy it in your own company would help you meet your goals, help you extend the life of your PC, and then also keeping those things around and alive for longer. The next part of the circle is harvesting. So we acknowledge that computer parts have a finite lifetime, and not all of them have the same life cycle. So making sure when we get these products back from asset recovery that we're able to articulate, understand the state of health of each component, and harvesting the components that still have good life in them. We could then repurpose those for spare parts or for building a whole refurbished PC. But collecting and harvesting individual components is not as prevalent today as we think that it could be. And then lastly, as components, not the entire PC, but as components reach that end of life, then we put them into the recycle and reuse category. But you can see how this is just continually driving circularity. We do currently today use some closed loop materials. Sometimes that's called ITE or IT equipment derived materials. So if we can continue to get these assets in, then we can repurpose those materials back into our supply chain as recycled raw materials, and then building completely new parts of this. We do have an example of this in hard drives. So as our servers are returned by customers at their end of life, we take those hard drives. We worked with a partner to melt down the aluminum and the magnets within the server hard drives, and they're being repurposed as, you know, raw but recycled materials into Optiplex hard drives. So we're really proud of that partnership and driving the entire industry. And that partnership is with Seagate. And just happy that we have partners who want to work with us on that, tying those supply chains together and making sure that we're all collectively working together to drive the circularity. So that takes us a little bit deeper into what we did with Concept Luna. So designing this as a work stream for exploring, testing new design ideas, new manufacturing processes, looking at new materials in a low carbon emissions way, constructing the PC for reuse and to recreate, therefore shrinking the resource used to each time we develop a new PC. Keeping those materials in the circular economy as long as possible, helping to address issues like e-waste. If you aren't aware, it is the largest and fastest growing waste stream in the world. And we acknowledge that as computer manufacturers, we are essentially contributing to that. So the reason we have the goal for take back is to ensure that everything we put out there is responsibly coming back, and then we can repurpose it. So if you are familiar, we did announce Concept Luna 2 years ago in 2021 as our first foray into proving what was possible. We now, in this last December, have announced an evolution of Concept Luna. So we wanted to take it a step further. I'll go ahead and drop the link to this video. I know sometimes it can be cumbersome to post the video or watch the video live. So I have the link here to YouTube where you guys can watch the full video here of Concept Luna. And then I'll just move on into some more of the explanation. All right. So looking at the sustainable PC design, we acknowledge that the designs today have really been leaning towards being thin and light, and that has been related to customer demand. The industry as a whole has moved to thin and light. And when you do that, you require things to be adhered or bonded and soldered. And that is the opposite direction of repairability and enabling things for repair and circularity. So in this design, you'll see nothing is soldered to the chassis. There are no adhesives being used. And we've completely redesigned the product design. So as you see here in this little disassembly GIF, you use a poking tool to poke inside the Noble lock slot. And that lock slot has a trigger inside of it, a spring-based trigger that will pop out what we call a keystone. A keystone, just a generic word for a thing that holds everything together. And that is really the crux of this design. This one keystone at the base will unlock the keyboard. The keyboard can then be easily removed. Underneath the keyboard, you see very simple layout design. 2 speakers on the left and right, the battery in the middle, the motherboard there at the top left. And then one change from the previous design to this one was to enable a higher wattage CPU. So we added a fan. The fan interlocks to the motherboard. So making sure that, you have to remove one piece to get to the other, but also ensures some additional durability with the design. What's not shown in this video is the next step, which is a second keystone right below the display in that top hinge. You can also use that same tool to just move the hinge to the right, and the second keystone will come out, allowing you then to slide the display down and remove the display as easily as you see the keyboard being removed. This is, leaps and bounds ahead of what we see anybody designing today. We do acknowledge there are others in the industry that have taken on sustainable PC design that's focused on repairability, but we do think that we're taking this above and beyond repairability. It's about a reduced carbon emissions. We see about 50% reduced carbon emissions by dematerializing. You also see a reduction in cables. There's very few cables in this design. That's by nature of repairability, but also cables can be excessive and unnecessary if you can design something like pogo pins and copper plates to touch those points. So by reducing the cabling, we were able to reduce the carbon footprint as well as enabling faster repairability. I will move on to the next part, which was the bigger aspects of our evolution. We added the ability to read intelligent telemetry. So each one of the components has a telemetry aspect, and you can tell through this application which of the components have been used more, which have been used less, and what the state of health of each component is. We can do this today with hard drives and batteries, but we wanted to take it to the next level and have every single component be able to tell you back that telemetry-based information on the state of health. This goes back to wanting to be able to harvest components. In order to harvest them, we need to know, what kind of life have they lived before this, and would they make sense for a fully refurbished product or a spare parts use. In the little screenshot that you see at the end of that, it's a check and X box that says this component needs to be replaced or this component's good to go. In the example here, we are flagging that the motherboard has failed and we need to replace the motherboard. So this is when our third aspect of robotic automation comes in. In the robotic automation feature, the robot is connected to the telemetry application and it can see that it needs a new motherboard. So this little video is showing how the robot would then take the motherboard out, do the disassembly down to the motherboard, take the motherboard out, replace it, put the PC back together, and then it's ready to be redeployed. So when we talk about that mounting issue of e-waste, we think that having robots that can do disassembly and repair, not just destruction, which some PC-enabled robots today are intended for dismantling and deconstructing a PC, but they're not made today for repairing and reassembling. And that's really where the innovation lies here, is that ability to fully disassemble, repair, and then reassemble the PC. And to tackle that growing e-waste problem at scale, we need to be able to enable robots like this in the future. I do see a couple of comments in the chat. Is it appropriate to take the questions at this stage?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
Take questions whenever they come in.
Okay, I'm gonna just breeze through these a little bit. Given the easily removable parts, what options are there, such as putting buttons back and track point? The keyboard design is based on our current XPS 13 design. So it's a 0 lattice keyboard. One innovative feature we have here is that you would be able to take off the top plate of the keyboard and replace just the keys. So when we looked at the carbon footprint data and our our life cycle data, we see that the keyboard and the display tend to be the biggest wear and tear on the product. So in order to enable this for our next user, we wanted a quick way to replace the keys. So it's not very well shown in this example, but you're able to pull the key layer back. You could then replace a new set of keys. And to your point, you could potentially laser etch these keys to your preference. We have a lot of language variation. So one of the requests from customers has been, could I re-laser my keys, or could the keys come blank and then be able to re-laser the language you choose, or putting special buttons that you would prefer in your keyboard design. This is a good time, I think, to remind everyone that this is a concept. This is a concept product. There's a lot of possibility, and I will choose my words wisely in saying we could do some things. There are lots of innovations still happening behind the scenes on this. So we're very open to your feedback and your questions. So I appreciate the consideration there on putting buttons back and things like that. The buttons were related to the trackpad. So yeah, this design is sort of that XPS centric design that is real clean on the trackpad, but the ability to add buttons back, I think, would be a possibility. For batteries to extend their life, will there be an optimized charging to preserve the battery? There were a bunch of energy efficiency innovations incorporated. For example, within the display, we've reduced the number of layers in the display, which makes the display more energy efficient. So your battery should be lasting longer as a result of that. And then we also have the Dell Optimizer technology that you could implement on your computers today. And there are some new power management settings within there that you could optimize your PC for a longer battery life if you wanted. Of course, at any moment, if you needed to up your performance, you could switch that off. But whenever you are comfortable level of performance, you could switch your energy efficiency back on. How does using robotics help reduce e-waste? I think I tackled that one there with the scaling. So if these robots could repair, again, not just disassemble and destruct for raw materials, but actually doing repairs, then we've stopped the product from entering the landfill and reduced e-waste by keeping these things in circularity for longer. I think that touched on most of them. So I'll head on to the next slide. I think I've covered a lot of these, but just want to make sure that I've covered some of these design explanations. We did successfully achieve a toolless chassis here for serviceability. So in our original Concept Luna design, we were very happy to get down to 4 screws, and those 4 screws were what held the 2 keystones in place. As we explored this evolution of Concept Luna, we went with 0 screws to access the internal components. So with just a stylus or a poker tool, you can get in, you can access every single component with no tool. So that was a huge win for us. The majority of these things are snap fit and using uniform screws. For example, the remaining screws are in the hinge. If you really wanted to remove the hinge, the top lid, you could. It would require a screwdriver. But by making the display, the actual glass display components more easily removable and not adhered to the top lid, you don't really need to remove the hinge. Typically today, people are removing the top lid and hinge because the display is bonded to it, and so you're not able to replace a display without removing the entire lid. So we've sort of circumvented that by removing the part of the display that typically is broken, being the glass. We did greatly reduce the motherboard size. So typically this would be twice as large. And we were in the original able to reduce the size of the motherboard by 75%. And that's where a large bit of the manufacturing carbon emissions lie, is in the size and the number of layers in the motherboard. So by reducing the motherboard, we were able to greatly reduce the carbon footprint. I've already mentioned the cables and the reduction of cables via interfacing pogo pins and metal plates there. So that was a big difference. And then in the keyboard design, being able to remove the top layer of the keys, and under that is a membrane, and that membrane funnels the information from the speakers and the battery through the keyboard and the trackpad into the motherboard. So that's just along those lines of reducing the cabling and associated improvements in repairability there. I think I've mostly talked about the telemetry and the robotic automation aspects. I did want to note here in the other category, our original design only had 1 USB-C just to reduce materials and needs, but customer feedback has driven us to 2 USB-C ports in this new design, and also adding a Noble lock slot there for security, which allowed us to get more creative with how you access the system via the Noble lock slot. We've already started integrating some of these design ideas into our products. So some examples of that is we did launch this with hydropower produced, so renewable energy in our supplier who provides the aluminum. We did that first in Concept Luna, then we rolled that out in XPS notebooks. And then moving forward, we'll be announcing an increase in our recycled content. We've also implemented the keyboard design from a micro LED backlit design that is an improvement in energy efficiency. So to the battery call out earlier, it does improve the energy that it takes to backlight the keyboard, I think is reduced by 75% in that new design. And that's something that's been implemented in Latitude 7000 series. So we will continue to, look at different product lines and ways that we can implement the sustainability innovations that we found in Concept Luna into our existing product line. So stay tuned for more of those announcements as those integrations get made into the products. I'll just address this. How about the price comment? There is no price. It is not for sale. It is just a concept to prove that we're capable of completely changing our design in a more sustainable way. And as I mentioned, we will integrate these design innovations into different product lines as they make sense and become available. You can see how everything is kind of connected to the next. So it does make it challenging to implement one aspect of it because then it's connected to the next aspect. So we're exploring all the possibilities of integrating this into our product line and hopefully have more to share on that in our next webinar. Thank you for having me come today and share this with you all.
Thanks,
Stephen,
Katie.
I think you'll kick it over. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm Stephen Taylor. I'm a client technologist, and I help schools, whether they're K-12 or colleges, build out esports programs, guide them through all the different options that they've got for hardware, and really help them get the most performance that they can get for the money. Today, I want to talk about our CES 2023 Innovation Awards. As far as esports go, and we just have a ton of awards that we've won this year. Our newly designed Aurora Tower got an award, 6 different laptops from the X series, M series, even the little G series, all got awards. And then our brand new 500 hertz gaming monitor got one of the best of awards this year. So starting off with the new stuff, here's the new Aurora Tower. And when we say Legend evolved, we mean like Legend is like the design construct that we build into these. But for this year, we took a lot of customer feedback. We made a lot of changes to the machine. Like if you look at the side of it here, the heat exchanger, the radiator, twice as big, up top now, vents out of the directly out of the top of the case. All these new graphics cards that are dumping a ton of hot air right out of the top of the card. We now have perforations on that side panel, whether it is a clear side panel or a solid one, just to help air get out of the machine. And what ends up happening is you end up with a machine that can get more airflow, it can get more heat out of the machine. But the spooky thing that I've noticed is they are really a lot more quiet. You'll stand behind them and there'll be like a ton of heat rolling off the back of them when they're running, but they're really, really quiet. The fans just don't rev up like they have in previous generations. So we ended up getting a system that is a lot faster, a lot more powerful, but a lot more quieter. And you usually don't get all those things at once, but we managed to do it this year. So we'll have a couple different processor options in these. We'll have 13th gen Intel, we'll have the new AMD Ryzen, we'll have all the new AMD and NVIDIA graphics cards as they come out. Right now, you can get this with up to a 4090 from NVIDIA, and the 7900 XTX is coming really soon on that. Power supplies now go up to 1350 watts. So we can now, if we needed to, max out what a 15 amp circuit can do with that 1350 watt power supply. We don't expect anybody to actually hit that, but it does mean that we can put any graphics card in these machines that anybody makes, and you'll be able to run it. And as far as getting into like the tech specs of year over year, just faster RAM, more storage options, a lot more graphics card options. But really all of it, this year is centered around just having a much better chassis that is able to cope with a lot more heat and able to do it very quietly. Now, with all of this compute power that you got to send it somewhere. So that's where this new Alienware 500 hertz gaming monitor comes in. So 500 hertz lets us do a half millisecond response time when you do the gray to gray, and you get an absolute worst case scenario of 2 milliseconds. I mean, when you think about how a lot of screens out there right now, they struggle even when they're running in fast modes to get to even 3 or 4 milliseconds. I mean, this really pushes the boundaries of what you can do. And if you're running games like Rocket League, where you get an advantage the faster your frame rate is, this is a really great monitor, for those elite players who want to get everything that they possibly can out of their battle station. This will really help them. Now, over on the laptop side, I'm going to start with the little one. This is the little 14-inch version. This is the world's thinnest gaming laptop. We took the screen on it larger. So instead of having a 1920 by 1080, we've now got a 1600p screen in it, runs at 165 hertz. You can drop a 4060 in this. I've had one of these now, a pre-production for a while, and it's actually really surprising at how well it games to be as small as it is. And the screen on it is just gorgeous. I mean, the color saturation. I personally think that like every college kid out there should have one of these for going to class, because it's small enough to go into a backpack, but it's fast enough to like really game. Great system. And for people that need something larger, that sticks with that premium look and feel, we have a new X16. So this replaces last year's X15, X17. And this has all performance, actually a little bit more than the X17 had. So you can run these with up to 4090 mobile graphics cards. You can run them full speed. You can get mechanical keyboards in them, great sound experience. For somebody that wants something that's very stylish, something that looks really good, great option here. And it'll come with all sorts of options for graphics cards, anything, anywhere from a 4050 up to a 4090. RAM on it's running at 6,000 megahertz. So on this, really nice upgrades to this. And, between the new processors and between the new graphics cards, these really push what you can do. Now, if your focus is more on pure performance, this year's M series completely rebuilt from the ground up. The M series in the past, it would have 2 fans in it. It was meant to be more of a fast but not necessarily great looking machine. Now this is just built to be fast. I mean, it's not 2 fans anymore. It's 4 fans. It's 330 watt power adapters being able to plug into a 16, so that when you feed that 4090 graphics card in it, you're feeding it a full 175 watts. I mean, that's more than we used to put in the 15's entire chassis. And now, we've got this new one, able to run much higher power envelopes. So the M series, until you see one in person, it's hard to overstate this. I mean, completely different design from the ground up, but we still keep the removable RAM. We still keep the ability to run lots of NVMe drives, lots of storage. We still give you lots of screen options. But now we just can make a 16-inch chassis that, like I said, 330 watt power envelope without drama, without heat, without crazy noise. I mean, yes, it's got 4 fans, so you're going to hear those running, but it's not like a little fan just, running at the top of its RPM and screaming for its life. I mean, these, really impressive machines. And if you want to go ridiculous on the size, we now make an 18. So with this one, I mean, the weight on it, unapologetic 8 pounds. But it's got a huge, gorgeous screen on it. It's also running that 330 watts of power for its performance budget. So what you end up with is a very desktop-like experience when you are gaming on the road. If you think about a laptop and how close it would sit if you had it like on your lap, The screen on it would be larger than like a 75-inch TV across the room on your wall, just because, you know, the 18-inch screen is so much closer. The experience on this is wonderful. And if you've got a classroom where it is mixed use, so that you have to, you know, have esports playing now with a dozen machines, but then after that, that room is going to be used for something else. So you need to lock up all of these mobile systems. All you have to do is add a mouse, add a headset, and you've got something that absolutely competes with gaming desktops, and it's mobile. And once again on this, I mean, you know, 8.9 pounds, 8.5 to 8.9, it's heavy. But for people that want a machine that just absolutely runs like a desktop, yeah, it absolutely does that and does it well. And not to forget the little G series. We've gone very retro with our color options this year. But you know, even the little G series, you know, you can get a 4070 in these. You can get, you know, your choice of a couple of different processors in these. But for customers that are really price conscious, these are a great option. They're a little chunkier. But the thing is with the new color scheme on it, it kind of leans into that chunkiness. It ends up being like a really fun laptop. Well, that's it for me on the gaming side. I will start checking on chat and see if there's any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. I am going to hop over to our client peripherals. Just a minute here. Yep. 1 second. There we go, on full screen. All right. So hi, everybody. I'm Dana Briggs. I'll be talking about our new Dell collaboration keyboard and our Dell Premier rechargeable mouse. So great new products, very innovative in the market. You'll hear me mention the world's first Zoom certified keyboard. Over the last 3 years, a lot of things have changed the way we work, between hybrid work, mobile work, in the office. Oh, I see somebody has one on the screen. That's exciting. I'm glad that you got it and are testing it out. Can't wait to hear some feedback on it. But let's go ahead and jump into that keyboard. We will play this video. Oh, I don't have sound, it looks like. So I will skip over that and drop it in the chat like Katie did. And it looks like I probably have to get one of these keyboards for Katie so she can easily find her collaboration keys. I think that's the best part about this keyboard, right? Your collaboration keys are right up front when you're on the Zoom call. So you have your mic mute, your screen share, your chat and video right there. So Katie can easily find that screen share and that mute going forward. So again, the world's first collaboration keyboard. Great little product, very comfortable, designed with feet for comfort ability. You have your Zoom certified keys right up front. It seamlessly connects Bluetooth. Also our most secure connection via Dell Pair. If you're unfamiliar with Dell Pair, most secure market, you can bring your keyboard, your mouse right up to the computer. It will automatically connect in a one-click connection. My favorite feature last night when I was working, my kids, they still climb into bed with me. It's dark, is the smart backlit lighting on it. So you approach it in dark ambient lighting, it will automatically come on. And you can also personalize that. So after we get through this presentation real quick, I'll pop up our Dell Peripheral Manager and show you all the personalizations that we can walk through on our keyboards and mice. Like I said, it has 15 programmable keys. And then most importantly to me is the rechargeable part of it, right? So it can live up to 20 days on a single battery charge. But I'm on the go a lot. So 1 minute charge will last me the entire day. So that means if I'm charging my daughter's, Chromebook in one section and I have to grab mine real quick, 1 minute charge will last me the entire day while I walk out the door. So great feature there. One thing I actually skipped over when we were talking about that backlit keyboard and my kid's kind of sleeping next to me, is the quiet keys. So it is made with scissor keys, which are very quiet. It's not going to wake anybody up as you're typing. Or if you're in the office, you're not going to hear that click, 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 click. So really great feature with that as well. I see another one holding up. Yay! It looks like our Dell client community has gotten a few of them. Excited. Y'all must be in our trusted tester program too.
Hey, Dana, you're in presentation mode, like where we're looking at your notes page and the next page to come. Just FYI.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Same thing.
Go ahead and. No,
At the top there, if you click display settings and that drop down arrow, you can just switch them and that should do the trick. Yeah.
there you go.
Okay. Well, appreciate that. Alrighty. So if we move on over to our Dell Premier rechargeable mouse, I will hold it up here. This is a great little mouse, very, very comfortable. You can see the ergonomic design on it. Smooth body, great grip, advanced four-way scrolling. So you have your vertical scroll up front. You also have your horizontal scroll along the side. Again, includes Dell Pair with one-click pairing. Customizable, we'll get through that in the Dell Peripheral Manager. And then the DPI goes up to 8,000 DPI, which is the highest for a non-gaming mouse as well. So back to battery life on this one. Again, a 2-minute charge will last you the whole day. So great battery life for ease of use on there. Now that I am back to sharing the correct way, I'm going to jump out and pop over to Dell Peripheral Manager. So are y'all seeing my Dell Peripheral Manager? Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So if everybody's familiar with Dell Peripheral Manager, this is where you can link and customize all of our peripherals. So you'll see up here, I can jump over to my mouse and my keyboard. I'll start with the keyboard. Here you can see those 15 programmable buttons. So any one of these buttons you can program to whatever you use most. You also over on the left-hand side have your collaboration buttons. So if I don't, if I'm too afraid I'm gonna, go unmuted all the time, I can actually turn that button off. It will undo that button on the keyboard itself. We also have the backlighting where you can change the backlighting right here. You can adjust the lighting as well. And then one other thing I wanted to show in here, this double tap. Right now I have my Zoom button set to double tap. So that I have to double tap it to come on and off of mute or screen share or whatever I want, so I don't accidentally click it once and go on camera. And then over to our mouse. So the Dell rechargeable mouse. This is my favorite feature. Call me simple, but we have 5 programmable buttons here. So you have your left and right button, your scroll click button here, and then these 2 side buttons. I like to customize these when I'm in Excel all the time to copy and paste. Easy customization here. With one click, I can literally just copy and paste in any Excel sheet. So I know a lot of people, when I show them that, have found that extremely useful. So if you need to use that, please go ahead and update it. It's fantastic. And then your mouse settings here. This is where you can change your DPI settings, like I said, all the way up to 8,000. So our trusted testers in our Dell client community are actually testing this right now. So if you're not in our trusted testers program, feel free to sign up for that. I'm gonna give a little plug there, but we are so excited to get the rest of your feedback from that. I hear there's some great unboxing videos coming up. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out as well. And that's all I had. Back to you, Jack.
Awesome, thank you. I'm just taking a quick look at the chat to make sure there's no more questions. If anybody has any questions, right, this is the time for any of the speakers if you didn't get your questions in time. How can you reg to be a trusted tester? Liz, if I could ask you to drop that link in the chat, that would be highly appreciated. Dana, it looks like you encourage some people to sign up. They want to get their hands on the products.
That's great.
Yeah, that's Stephen responding. Yeah, beautiful. Okay. If there are no more questions coming in, right, what we will do is we will send out a post-event survey, and we're happy to give you all 10 minutes back in your day. This post-event survey, like I mentioned at the beginning, 4 people will be selected to win a $25 Amazon gift card. And we really want to hear your feedback, right? Our speakers spent a lot of time putting this together, so they want to hear what you got to say. And as a community, we want to know if we hit the mark with what you all want, especially with the coming together of the two communities. We want to make sure we keep serving you the way you guys want us to. I did see a question. Dana, did you drop the video link in the chat?
You're muted.
Yes, you did.
Didn't use my keyboard. It's embedded in the presentation. Let me go find it. Is there a way to reach out after the webinar? Do you know, Jack?
Absolutely. So I was just going to mention that I'm going to send out an email with both the video links that we are sharing today, as well as the post-event survey. So keep an eye out on your email. I will send it to everybody. Thank you, Matthew, 20 out of 10. So really good hour. That's a tribute to Katie, Stephen, and Dana, and Reg. Thank you all for being here today. So like I mentioned, the email will be out shortly. We really appreciate all 200 plus of you here today. That might be a record for one of our webinars, not to put any pressure on the rest of us, but that might be a record. So we really appreciate everybody here today. We will follow up via email, so keep an eye out for that. And if there's any other questions you got, right, feel free to email member services at Dell Client Community or at Dell Technologies Unified Workspace. And we will get your questions answered. So until next time, which hopefully is the event in March, this is goodbye for now. We can't wait to see you guys all at the next one. And the survey was just dropped in chat and will be emailed to you shortly. Thank you, everybody.